Okay, so we're episode 21, where we've actually been waiting for this one for a wee while. Mr. John Teasdale, thank you for coming in. You've come all the way from America, John. First and foremost, how you doing?
I'm good. I'm good, yeah. I'm getting used to this cold weather for a few days.
You're heading off to Germany, John?
Actually, I'm not going to Germany. No. The plan was I was going to go to Germany, but my boss decided at kind of at the last minute that he didn't want to give me 2 weeks off, just so he said I could have a week, because I'm going to England for a wedding in August as well. So,
okay,
you know, unfortunately, I'm only here for a week, so I thought I would rather spend it with my family here than be in Germany and not see them. You know,
absolutely, mate. Yeah, you know, how just a quick question, John. How often do you get home, John?
I used to come home every 3 years, you know, because you know, when my mom was alive, God bless her, God rest her soul. I used to take my mum and dad out to America every year for a couple of months, so I would get that would be my food for my family, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That would be my fill of being around my family and having them there. It was fantastic, you know. So I used to come home every 2-3 years to see everybody else and that, but I'll probably start coming home every 2 years now. As you get a wee bit older, you want to see them more, you know.
Absolutely, nothing quite like home, is there, John?
No, it's pretty magical, you know, especially when you live, you know, when you live in America in big cities, you know, when you live in these, I'm living in Houston right now, and before that, obviously, LA, and, you know, they're just huge cities, and it's trying to see people is tough as well, the size of the place, and so to come over, obviously, it's much smaller here, and just walking around the town yesterday with my daughter, I took her up to Lady Hill and stuff like that. It's just like magical in a way, you know. It really is.
Take you back to when you're younger as well, a little bit.
Yeah. I was just telling her yesterday how we used to, you know, it took me all my time just to walk up the steps yesterday, but you know, we used to run up and down there, and roll down, and run back up and roll down, you know. Jeez, I was rolling up, you know.
Brilliant, John. So we'll stick with the theme of going back. So my first question is always the same, everyone, John. How good a football player were you as a youngster, and kind of what age did you realise you had a wee bit of potential?
Well, I mean, fortunately for me, when I was young, there was a lot of good young players.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? There was a lot of good young players. And I was lucky in a way because I spent a lot of time living in the same house when I was a wee kid with my two uncles, Frank McGettrick. Frank was the Lossy manager there last year. Frank and Alec McGettrick. And
Alex down at the boys' league now.
Yeah.
I take a boys' league team myself.
Do you?
Yeah, we played Alec's team the other night, in fact. Yeah, so yeah, great guy, Alec.
So Alec's fantastic, yeah. So I grew up with them. I was in the house with them. So when it was raining outside, really bad, we'd be playing with a balloon in the hallway. You know, we'd play with tennis balls. We'd play. So then, I was in Les Monday. You know, and outside in the little square outside, we would draw up a wee tennis court to play heady tennis. We'd play. So, but there was all really good players in the boys' league at that time. Had great teams, you know. So, I mean, I was really lucky to be around a lot of good players who you learn from, you know. And you know, as a youngster, you know, you always look at the guys that are older than you.
You do,
and you always you compete. I used to compete against them in my head anyway. I wanted to be better than my uncles. I wanted to be better than their friends. I wanted to, you know. So, you know, when I was 9, 10-year-old and I was playing football against 13, 14, 15-year-olds, you know, and sometimes I would beat them and this and that, and you know, I could tell at an early age I was pretty half decent. You know what I mean? But really, when I was 14, 15, I kind of felt that I was a different level than the guys around me. You know?
Yeah. Is that the kind of age you started getting looked at by clubs and things, John? Or
I think so. Yeah. I mean, I remember going on trial to Aberdeen, in Derby County. I went to try for Derby County. Me and Nicky Walker, we both went down to Derby when we were 15. You know, so yeah, there's a lot of clubs, a lot of sniffing around. You know, and then Highland League teams, but Highland League teams were really good back then as well, you know.
Yes, they were.
So, you know, I was a schoolboy signing with Elgin, and then I got frustrated with Elgin because I didn't think they were going to give me, and I just thought I deserved to be playing, and that's when I ended up going to Nairn County with Innes, you know. Mm-hmm. And the funny thing is, I just agreed to sign for Elgin as a schoolboy. And I was still at Elgin Academy, and Innes came to me the next day, and he said, and it was just the way he spoke. Innes was magical. You know, and he had that Glaswegian type accent, and he's like, Teasdale, okay, I think I'm going to do you a favour here. I'm going to I'll offer you a schoolboy form in Nairn County. And I was like, I was stiff scared to tell him. I said, I signed for Elgin. He never spoke to me for about 6 months.
Wow, yeah.
Never. Gym classes, anything. Never spoke to me for 6 months after that. And then when I fell out with Elgin because I wasn't getting any game time and stuff, I went to him and I said to him, Mr. McDonald, can I come and train with Nairn County, you know?
Yeah.
And he says to me, let me think about it, Teasdale. Always call me Teasdale. They always call everybody by their last name. He said, let me think about it, Teasdale. And then I signed as schoolboy with them, and just I was magic. I used to drive through a train with him and his wife and games and stuff like that, and it was magic, you know.
An experience at that age.
John. Oh, it was great. They had good players. They'd won the league a couple of years earlier, and so they had a lot of good players. And you know, Alex Gordon played up front. I used to learn a lot from Alex. You know, Sammy Forsyth, the Robertson twins. Just, you know, Big Davy Cochrane. It was good being around them guys. A lot of experience, you know, and good training with them and that. And, you know, and the similar kind of thing happened with them. I was training with them for a few months, and I wasn't getting a game and stuff, you know.
Yeah.
And then they played this game on a Saturday night, and I never got a game. And we went out, and I went out drinking with the Robertson twins and everything. And I got a few drinks, and I picked up the phone and I called Mac up, you know, and I said, Mac, you can stick your team up your arse. I'll never forget it. I can stick your team up your arse. And he was like, you're drunk, Teasdale. And he hung the phone up. And then I didn't want to go back. I was too scared. I was too embarrassed. He came and picked me up, and I made my debut about 2 weeks later. And after that, it was all go, you know.
Yeah, yeah. How is it being that age in Highland League football, John? Is it more down to the character of you, or is, you know, if you've not got the right character in that league, you're not going to make it, or do you need to have a bit of toughness about you? What is it? Is it the guys around you that help you? What is it to make it as a teenager in the Highland League?
Well, obviously you got to have a bit of ability, you know. Mm-hmm. I mean, I was a little bit different from your normal guys. I was, you know, I knew my ability.
Yeah,
I knew my ability, and I knew my ability was better than most of the guys that I was training with and watching on a Saturday, you know. And
were you a confidence player, John?
Very confident. I was very confident. You know, I've always been a confident person, but I was a very confident player. But I've seen a lot of good young boys come in, and you know, when I managed Elgin there, I had a lot of young boys around me. I gave a lot of young boys a chance, and I brought young boys, and some boys were just quiet as a mouse.
Yes,
just, you know, they're intimidated, they're shy. But then you get them on the training field or the game, they get stuck into anybody, and you know. But me, I'd walk in with a whole dressing room full of senior pros, and I'd start laughing and joking with them, and you know, I mean, I was a little bit different character. But yeah, you've got to have a little bit more confidence than your normal guys, and I did for sure, and I liked that when I was a manager. I liked to, you know. I used to have a little character guy called Harvey. I think his son was at Aberdeen there for a while.
Davy Harvey?
Davy Harvey.
Yeah.
Davy, I can give Davy you know, he played a few games for me.
Yep.
And Davy was a character. He was a confident type boy, and he was a bit wild, you know what I mean? And I liked that about him.
Yep.
I loved that about him. And boy, he could get stuck in on the field as well, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, yeah, it helps if you have a wee bit of character, but it's a different time now as well, so I think it's different now from when it was back then.
I 100% agree with you, John. Okay, who's your football idol growing up?
Oh, for me it was Cruyff.
Wow,
Johan Cruyff. You know, I mean,
brilliant.
Was just magical watching him. Pele, Jimmy Johnston, you know, I mean, Jimmy Johnston was magic, you know. Obviously, I'm a Celtic fan, so
you're in good company, John.
Good. I knew there was something nice about you. So you know, I grew up watching that Celtic team in the 60s and 70s, and so there's a lot of great players at Celtic and that, you know. But everybody had good players back then as well. I mean,
yeah, you just look at the quality of the English First Division back then. You look at your Leeds and your Man Uniteds and your Liverpools and all that. All brilliant teams. Nottingham Forest, Derby, top to bottom. There's back then. These days it's maybe a 4 to 6 horse race. Back then it was a 10 horse race.
Yep. It was. Oh yeah. I mean, it was. You know, like as you said, You know, I was telling somebody the other day that the difference. You know, it's. Back in them days, every team had 4, 5, 6 top quality players, really quality players throughout their team.
Yeah.
And nowadays, most teams have that 1 or 2 superstars. And if that 1 or 2 superstars are injured, the team's done.
Yes,
They're done.
I agree.
And it's the same in America, American sports, basketball, football, and stuff like that. If that superstar quarterback gets injured or the wide receiver, the team's done.
Yes.
The season's done pretty much, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Man City are at a different level because they've got an abundance of fantastic players.
Yes, aye.
You know what I mean? But you start looking at the rest of them, you take that two really good players in the team, if they're injured, they're not winning. They're not winning nothing.
No.
You know, any team in the league can beat them.
Yes, I agree.
You know?
Yeah.
It was, you know, when I first signed for Wolves, I mean, it's the dressing room, you walk in the dressing room, it was Andy Gray, it was Kenny Hibbert, John Richards, Willie Carr. You know, there was just quality all over.
Yep.
You know? Just, I don't think most teams seem to have that now. They rely too much on 1 or 2 players, you know?
No, fantastic insight to that, John. So you kind of touched on it a little bit there. What is it like to sign for an English First Division club straight out of the Highland League? Because it used to happen more often back then, but it wouldn't never happen these days.
No, it's it was great. It was a great time for me. It was.
Can you remember how it came about, John?
What happened is my Uncle Johnny, God bless him, God rest his soul, my Uncle Johnny was stationed just outside Wolverhampton, and he married a lady from Wolverhampton, Diana, God bless her. My Uncle Johnny wrote to the Wolves chief scout and told him about me.
Yeah.
So Wolves had got in contact with Nairn and asked me down for a trial for a few days. I went down on trial, and I had a dream trial, really. We played against this team. I mean, the pitch was a mud bath. You know, I mean, that's another thing about today. I mean, they play on bowling greens today, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
This part there was hardly a blade of grass on this. And we beat this team 3-1, and I scored the 3 goals, you know? Or it might have been 4-1, but I scored 3 goals. And they just signed me after that, you know.
Yeah, brilliant. Couldn't ask for a better start, really.
No, it was good, you know. But it's.
Did you feel you fit in straight away, John?
You know, I fitted in pretty well, pretty straight away. You know, it's because I was, like I say, the whole confidence thing, you know, and I was quick though. I was very quick. I had a lot of pace, you know, and I knew where the back of the net was, you know. So started doing really well in the reserves straight away, you know.
Yeah.
And wasn't long before I ended up, you know, in amongst the first team squad, you know.
Yeah. You're in behind, at the time, probably one of the top 3 strikers in Europe at the time in Andy Gray at Wolves. Do you see that as, I need to get to that level, or are you intimidated by something like that, John, at that age?
No, I wasn't intimidated. It was good. I used to watch Andy a lot. Him and John Richards. You probably don't know much about John Richards, but John Richards was one of the top strikers in England at the time. You know, he played for England. But I used to watch them, and I used to watch their movement, and I used to replicate that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? How they drop off, how they come short, you know, how they would swing, and Richie would drop and then he would swing round the back post, and the runs he would make, and I changed my game, and I based my game around John Richards a lot, the way, you know, because his off the ball running was fantastic, and I think that's what got me noticed with the first team, you know. So and it was just, you know, in all the games I watched the first team as well. I used to watch other strikers, and I would just, you know, I would watch everybody's movement, and it was then that I realised how important movement was, you know, in a game as a striker. To me, it was always just, oh, I'm so quick. I'm a lot quicker than everybody else, and you know, I had a pretty decent touch, you know.
Yeah.
But you get to that level, then all of a sudden, the first touch on people is different class.
Yes.
You know, if you don't have that, when your first ball gets knocked up to you or drilled into you, if you don't kill it with your first touch or set yourself up, the next thing is you're getting hit. Because back in them days, you were allowed to tackle from behind, you know.
Yes, you were. Yeah.
And training was brutal. Training was like, because a lot of time it was reserves against the first team, and there was no prisoners.
No.
Oh Jesus! You'd think it would be like a normal game, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, you'd get lumps kicked to you. The big centre halves, first team would kick lumps at you.
Madness. So what, going from Highland League to First Division England, what would you say is the one thing you notice the biggest difference, John, between your part-time player and your professional player? What would you say is the biggest difference?
Well, the professionalism, obviously, is just you know, it's a different level.
Is there anything technically you can, like you mentioned the first touch there, is that probably one of the biggest things?
That's huge.
Yeah.
I mean, that's huge. Your first touch, your awareness, you know, and I mean, there's a lot. There's a huge difference, especially nowadays. You know, it's a huge difference between that level. You know, but how you apply yourself, you know, you got to come to training. And at first, this is something I didn't do. At first, when you go to training, you got to come training after having a good night's sleep. You got to be ready to listen. What, you know, you can't just, you can't do it off the cuff. Yeah. Back in them days, you could a little bit, but nowadays it's you got to go into training with the right proper mindset. You got to, you know, I mean, nowadays they have there's 5-6 different sets of strips, 5-6 different pairs of boots all lined up for them. I mean, we went into Molyneux at Wolves. There was 3 big buckets in the middle of the dressing room. One had the tops, one had shorts, one had socks. And if you were one of the last ones into training, tops were all ripped.
Yeah.
Shorts maybe never had any lace in them, you know. The underpants probably had shit stains all over them. You know what I mean? It's like, honestly, it was last into training, that's what you got.
That's it.
Your own boots, sometimes if it'd been raining the day before, you had to go into the boot room and get your boots and brush them off, you know. Sometimes if the young boys hadn't done it for you and stuff, you know. Now it's just, now they're just pampered.
Yes.
I went to Wolves training ground, about 8 years ago. My pal was still working as a groundsman there. So he said, come down to the training ground. And I said, okay. So now the training ground is just unbelievable compared to what we had.
Yeah.
You know, we had like imagine Morriston, right? Mm-hmm. And that one pitch, the first pitch, that was like our training ground.
Right. Yeah.
And the changing rooms, that kind of thing. Now I go out to the training ground, it's just, facility is unbelievable. They had about 12 pitches. And the pitches, like 3 or 4 of them, have the same turf as they have at Molyneux.
Okay.
Wow. So they practice on match day, they practice on, you know. So I go at the training ground. Now remember when I went to Wolves, half the time I used to catch a bus. They'd drop me off just outside the training ground and walk up. Or one of the other young boys would pick me up, you know. And sometimes there was about 4 or 5 of us stuck in a wee mini or something.
Yeah. I
go in and there's Mercedes, Porsche, Mercedes, Range Rover, Rolls Royce, you know. And I'm like, Jesus Christ, look at the cars these players drive. Yeah. So I go in and my buddy's there and he says, I said, look at these cars. And he said, the first team's no in today, John. I went, what? He says, the first team's now in today. I said, who's it? He says, that's all the reserves and the young guys. I'm like, Jesus Christ.
That's mad. Yeah.
You know? But I mean, a young 18-year-old signing a contract for Wolves today is on pretty much the same money a week as what I was on in a year.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, it's a crazy money.
It's
yeah.
And it's, in my opinion, it affects the game.
Yes.
When you give working class kids that much money at an early age, it takes their hunger away.
It does, yeah.
You know, it takes their drive away. And that's why a lot of these players nowadays, and they give them a 5-6 year contract.
Mm-hmm.
We got 2-year contracts.
Aye, maximum.
We got 2 years. You had to work your toes off to get a new contract. Yeah. These young boys nowadays, they get a 5-6 year contract. And they're a multi-millionaire overnight.
Yes.
And it takes away a lot. And that's why a lot of them, percentage-wise, do not end up making it to the top level.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know? A lot of them don't even ever play in the first team.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Because when I played at Wolves, Andy Gray and Emlyn Hughes were the only two celebrities in the team. Nobody wanted to be a celebrity. Nobody craved to be a celebrity.
Yeah.
Now, a lot of these young boys, they sign as a pro. They're as hungry to be a celebrity as they are to be a pro.
Yeah.
Then when they get in the first team, their hunger towards being a celebrity is higher than the actual to being a player.
Yes. Yeah. You see it all the time.
See it all the time. And, you know, and to me, that's why a lot of them end up not making it.
Yeah.
Make a lot of money, they just don't make it the top grade.
It's so true to say. I think we mentioned it on here before. You've got youngsters in that Man City reserves on 25 grand a week. We'll never see a game of first team football.
There's some of them on a lot more than that.
Yeah, and they'll never make it.
They got young boys in there making 50, 60 grand a week. They'll never make it.
I just don't understand where the drive for them is if they're already making that money, you know, to push themselves on to the next level. I always go back to Cristiano Ronaldo, 14-year-old, grew up in poverty on an island in Madeira and pushed himself on, had an alcoholic father and things like that, and that was his drive. And look at the level he's got to now, you know. That drive has got to be created from somewhere as a youngster.
Yep.
And as you say, John, they're given everything on a plate. They don't know how to work for things these days. And no.
Well, that's why the top players in the world, the last 10 years, and still today, majority of them are the Africans and the South Americans.
Yes.
Because they're still the ones that's coming from poverty.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? They're the ones that come from poverty. And the majority of them, they're the ones that still have the hunger and desire.
Yeah.
You know? Whereas a lot of your British young kids, I used to coach in America. I coached for a while. I stopped doing it because obviously my job, it affected with my job and that. But one of the main reasons I stopped doing it as well is, I mean, the kids were just spoiled rotten, man.
Yeah.
It was just unbelievable and they tried to get their attention. It was hard to get their attention because they really didn't care.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? They'd never been told no. They're not getting told no. They're not being disciplined at home, a lot of them. And I would hear, and it used to make me sick, it still does make me sick when I go and watch young boys, 8-year-old, 9-year-old, 10-year-old, whatever. Now, when we played, and there was a lot better players than me when I was that age, and we would do stuff, you would never hear, "Oh, brilliant, magic, Teasy, that was unbelievable. Well done, Soap. Oh, Soapy, that's good." You know, you'd never hear that. It was just, "Oh, well done, son. Well done.
Yep.
Good."
Yep.
Nowadays, you go watch these young kids, they do one good thing, and it's like, "Oh, unbelievable. Oh, mega." You know, I'm just,
know what I mean?
And I'm like looking around, and these wee kids are coming off the park thinking they're absolute superstars.
Yep. Done one nutmeg.
Absolute superstars. And then when they do have to go and really work and train hard and play against, they can't do it, half of them.
I know what you mean.
They're building these kids up for failure.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You know, it's like, I just hate to hear that with young kids.
You've got to
You cross a good ball. You've crossed a good ball. Well done.
Yeah.
Your job is to get down the line and cross a good ball.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's your job.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? But they cross one good ball, and your parents and coaches, the coaches said it's bad. Oh, mega. Oh, a worldie. I'm like, oh my God, this is nonsense.
Diluting the game down.
Oh, it's just, I don't know if it's just that the standard is so much less that when somebody does something good that they just get unbelievable. You're just overwhelmed with it or something. But me, I watch a game of football. I expect a guy to make a good pass. I expect a guy to cross the ball well. I expect a guy to beat the keeper one-on-one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But you're telling these youths, you're telling these young kids that there's something that they're not.
Building them up.
You're really building them up for failure.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You know? And then I see it, my own job, my own walk of life. I got young guys coming in and they do something wrong and you're trying to tell them and they can't accept it.
Yeah. Yeah.
They cannot accept it because they haven't been told before
Mm-hmm.
that they're doing it wrong. They're not good at it or whatever, you know what I mean?
Yeah, and they're not going to have a sudden mentality shift because someone's told them to do something when they've lived their whole life a certain way, you know. You're bang on the mark with that, John.
Yeah.
Absolutely bang on the mark, and I think, you know, it's only getting worse, the problem, especially with the influx of money into football. You know,
It's too much money. It's too much money too soon.
Yep.
It's too much money. I said it. You get most of these young kids nowadays, as soon as they get that 5-6 year contract, now all they want to get is the tattoos, the belt with the buckles, the watches,
Yeah.
the nightclubs, the
whole lot.
you know,
Shebang. Yeah.
you know.
Okay, right. We'll move it on, John, because we could debate this for hours if we wanted to. Who was the best player you played with and against in England?
The best player I played with in England is Andy Gray. Obviously has to be up there. You know, Andy was special. You know, Andy was like one of the bravest strikers you ever meet in your life. You know, I mean, some of the things he did in training and that, you know, some of the goals that he scored was was unreal. You know, and Kenny Hibbett played in Wolves midfield. Kenny was just, his passing was, his touch, his passion, his passing, his vision was like, was unbelievable, you know. Then I played in Austria. I played in Vienna Sport Club, and there's a couple of players who played there who were pretty special. Peter Packelt. I played up front with Peter. Peter was a postie. He was a postman. And so he was really only part-time at the time. But he ended up signing for Vienna Rapid. He was the actual guy, if you remember when Celtic played Rapid and they had to play the replay at Old Trafford.
Yes, I do actually,
So
yeah.
Peter was the guy who scored the goal at Old Trafford.
Wow.
And for Rapid, I met him afterwards in the dressing rooms, you know, at Old Trafford, and they were scared. They were. But I remember telling them, you know, I says, Peter, come on, man, the guy never got touched the first game, you know, with the head, was supposed to get hit with a bottle or something. You remember?
It was, yeah.
I said, never get touched. He just looked at me and he laughed and he shook his head. they knew, they conned it. But Peter was a good player. He was a really good player. Alfred Riedel as well, midfield there, Austrian. What a touch. He ended up managing Austria. So really, they were probably the best players I played with.
Yeah, quite reckon.
Played against.
Yeah.
Well, probably Ardiles and Hoddle. I'd say Ardiles and Hoddle was the best. We played Spurs. I had to mark Ardiles for first half of the game because I was so quick, you know.
Yes.
And the boss just told me, he says, Teasy, I need you to stay on Ardiles, stay on him, don't let him get away. You know, I wasn't a midfielder, I wasn't a marker, you know, but I tried to stay with him as much as possible, but he was unbelievable, Ardiles, you know. He had this technique where he would get the ball and, you know, as you came to him, he just knew, his awareness was unbelievable. So as you were coming up alongside him, he would just stick his arm out
Okay.
And as you're running full pelt, you've either got to stop or you got to pull that arm away.
Yes.
And of course, that's why if you watch him, go back and watch him, that's why he got so many fouls against him. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
He was brilliant. And Hoddle was he was different class, man. His touch and passing was, I don't know, I mean, you guys are a bit younger than me if you've watched much of Glenn Hoddle, but
Yep.
Hoddle to me is just a different world, you know?
I reckon he was pretty much the English Maradona. He was
unbelievable. Honestly, mate, he was him. But they had some team at the time, Spurs, man. Crooks and Archibald up front. Him and Ardiles in the midfield. It was just what a team they had. You know?
Yeah. I think Chris possibly spoke about that Spurs team on one of the episodes previous we had. Okay, so after we'll go through. So England went Wolves, Blackpool.
Wolves, Walsall.
Wolves, Walsall.
It's the biggest mistake I made in my career. So, like I was telling you earlier, you know, you only got a 2-year contract. So when I signed for Wolves, they gave me a 2-year contract. So my contract was coming up. Wolves were going bankrupt. Wolves did go bankrupt. You know what I mean? They were bought out by some Indian, the Batty brothers. That's what. So there was 13 of us were told on the Monday that we were given free transfers. Wolves had no money to offer us new contracts.
Right.
And there was a lot of good players. George Berry was one of them. Wayne Clark, Alan Clark, ex-Leeds player, his younger brother, he was a hell of a player as well. So we were told on the Monday. So I was young, I didn't have an agent, and you know, my parents were up here. And I was like, oh my God, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? And then the next night we played Man United reserves at Molyneux at Wolves. We beat Man United 2-0. I scored both goals. Gordon McQueen, God bless him, was marking me. Right. I roasted him. I roasted Big Gordon, you know. And so we get home. There's no cell phones back in them days, right?
Yeah.
And I had a girlfriend I was staying with. And get up in the morning. The phone rings in the morning. The house phone rings. It's like 7:30 in the morning. And it's the manager for Walsall, which Walsall's 10 miles from Wolverhampton, you know?
Yep.
She said, I was at the game last night, me and my chairman, I like what I saw, I like to, you know, can you come down and see us? And I said, and I was like, oh, yeah. I was like, keen, and I thought, oh, it's a team, and they're only down the road, I can still live here. And
yeah.
So I get in the car, and I drives down to Walsall. They convinced me to sign. I signed a contract with Walsall. Biggest mistake in my whole football career.
Oh, right, okay.
I get home to the house about 8 hours later. 13 teams had been on the phone. Birmingham, Luton Town, Sunderland. You know, there was a lot of big teams at the time. You know? So I called up back and I said, listen, I think I made a mistake. I don't, you know. And he's like, no, you didn't make a mistake, you know, and we've registered you now anyway.
Okay, wow.
So I was done. Mm-hmm. His name was Neil Martin, I'll never forget him. Scottish guy, Scottish manager. We go in, I go into training first day for a couple of days. They had a player there called Alan Buckley. He was their striker. So I come in, he drops Buckley, is playing me. This guy Buckley hates me straight away after just taking his position.
Yep.
6 weeks later, the manager leaves to go take this job in Saudi Arabia. So I swear to God, he leaves. Who gets the manager's job?
Buckley.
Alan Buckley. Now we all call him Bucks. Everybody called him Bucks. Hey Bucks, how you doing, Bucks? My first conversation was, hey Bucks, what do we call you now? Boss? Bucks? He had this little squeaky voice. It don't matter what you call me. You're not going to be here long enough. You know? I was like, no, I'd been there now for about 4 months. I was like, oh, this is a nightmare. And the training, everything, just the facilities, everything was just, and I just hated life. I hated it. So I went from the space of 6 months playing for the Wolves first team to play for Walsall's reserves in the 3rd division. Reserves.
Yeah.
You know, where there's 2 dogs and 1 man watching the game type, you know what I mean? And I just hated life, man. And I hated it. And I came out one night after a reserve game, and I was walking out, and this guy approached me, and he said, listen, he said, I'm here as a representative for a German agent, and he's asking if you would like to go play football in Germany. I was like, what? He said, yeah, he said he'd like to fix you up with a German Bundesliga team. And I was like, well, I was hating Walsall, and you know.
Mm-hmm.
So I said, yeah, I'd be interested, you know. So, I mean, it's a long, long story, but I'll cut it short. Anyway, he got English guy over there to call me. The English guy called me and he said, yes, John, he says, Willie is a big agent here. He brings a lot of players to the Bundesliga and the Germany and that. And he said, can you get released? So I went to Walsall. They still owed me some money, and I told them I wanted. So they agreed to release me, and I forgo the money. And so then he says to me, he says, can you get something from a team saying that we paid $100,000 to sign you and all that, you know? So my buddy was played for this team called Willenhall Town. It's kind of like Elgin City type thing, you know?
Yeah.
So I got him, and I went and signed for Willenhall for like a short term, just like a couple of weeks, play a couple of games. But they drew up this form saying that he paid $100,000 to sign me, and so I went so that's when I ended up going to Germany, and I was trained. Like I say, I was training with Schalke.
Mm-hmm.
Now that was just another level from the English league, English First Division. That was unbelievable. The facilities, the training, you know, we trained in the morning, and then we went and had lunch, and then we went back to the stadium, and they had this big setup in the stadium with all these beds and everything, and we slept for like 3 hours, and then we trained at 4 o'clock in the afternoon again.
Wow.
You know?
That's different life.
Oh, it was different life, different professionalism. It was so much more professional than the English First Division.
Yeah.
You know, it really was.
Did your football benefit from it, John?
Huh?
Did your football benefit from it?
Oh, yeah, yes, for sure. My whole mindset towards football changed, you know. But the professionalism, the preparation for the games, everything like that was just on another level, you know.
Yeah. It's so you went from England to Germany, back to Scotland?
No. So I was
Austria.
Yeah, I went from there, and then just one day I was training with him, and I came off the training afterwards, and the agent Willie showed up, and he showed up with this English guy, and I said, okay, he says, you got a contract in Vienna. You know, I was 20-year-old. And a lot had happened in this 2 years, you know what I mean? Yeah. I was 20-year-old, I was like, Vienna? I was like, oh, fancy about that, you know?
Yeah. So,
yeah, off I went to Vienna and signed for Vienna Sport Club. I was there for a season, like just over a season, you know? That was great. That was fantastic. You know, even though it was a small town, Vienna Sport Club was like a St. Mirren, Dundee type, you know?
Yeah.
But there's another thing. The professionalism was like fantastic, you know. Equipment.
How did you deal with language while there, John?
I picked it up pretty good.
Yeah.
Ich habe gesprochen sehr gute Deutsch.
Fantastic.
Ja, 1983
one for the TikTok.
1983 bis 1985. Yeah, no, my German, I picked it up pretty quick, especially the swear words. They picked it up real quick. You know, when you're training every day with a bunch of guys and that's all they talk, you learn.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's the best way to learn, you know. Best way to learn is in amongst people who are just talking that language, and then you know, and sometimes it'd feel a little funny because they'd be talking, and then I'd hear my name. They used to call me Shotty, because they call Shotland, you know.
Yep.
And they hear Shotty, and so I knew they're talking about me, and then they'd all start laughing, and you think, oh, they're taking the piss out of me here. But they were laughing at something you did.
Yes.
They're not laughing at you. There was something that you did what was funny, you know.
Aye.
Or something you said to somebody else, you know. So no, yeah, no, my German was really good. I spoke pretty fluent German quite quickly, you know.
Initially, when you got there, is it true what they say that football is a universal language that you can pick up things pretty quick on a
Yeah,
football
that's
pitch?
what I'm saying. And we had, the funny thing is, there was only 5 of us who were full-time pros.
Okay.
The rest of the guys were all part-time. The other 4 guys were Polish.
Right. Okay.
3 of them never spoke a word of English. So I hung out most of the day with these 4 Polish guys.
Right.
You know, you got a Scottish guy, Polish guys in Austria, you know, and I mean that was funny. That was fun times. That was. It just shows you in life as well. 2 of the young guys that played in the team, I'll never forget his name, Wenanti Full, great player, played at centre back, good the goalkeeper. So, but Wenanti was playing for the Polish under-18s against England in Leicester, I think it was, or whatever it was, and played the game. And then after the game, they went back to the hotel. And then he was in the room with 2 other players, and the 2 other players sneaked out the window, and he's like, "Where are you going?" Because Polish was at the time was like Russia, communist country.
Yes,
The players couldn't leave. You know, I mean, it was only a select 1 or 2 who actually left, but then you could never go back to Poland.
That's right. Yeah.
So these Polish guys were leaving. They were doing a runner. They had a guy waiting for them outside the hotel who was taking them away to Germany.
Wow.
And he was an 18-year-old kid.
Yeah.
He just went with them. Now, when I met him, he'd been there 3 years, hadn't spoken to his family back home in Poland, hadn't, you know, just, his poor soul, he was, you know, and I was like, holy shit.
That's mad.
That was madness. But that's what them guys had to go through.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's what these good young players in communist countries, that's what they had to go through.
And you probably got so many players that have fallen by the wayside that were quality players that just haven't been able to get through that net, John.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. You think of how many decent Eastern European players that came through the 70s, 80s and 90s.
And we think that we've got good young players here and all the rest of it. But, you know, with some of them Eastern European players and stuff, and you always see it with the Yugoslavians, with the Serbs and all the rest of it, their touch and vision is just... it's
class. Yeah.
What they have over the Brits, I feel, is the discipline.
Yes. Aye. Yeah.
They have much, much better discipline as youngsters than the British players.
Mm-hmm. A bit more drive and kind of go back to what we said.
And things more, just their way of life.
Yeah.
Everything's more disciplined and stuff, you know, and it brought into their football. And just some of the players was just unbelievable. Great, fantastic players.
Sets you up well for the rest of your life, John. Okay, so we'll go to your return to Scotland now. I just want to ask, did you get a chance to go anywhere else before you returned to Elgin? Was there any offers?
Well, I came back to Scotland. I'll tell you how it happened. The one day I called home, and then I was living with the actress Linda Blair at the time, the girl from The Exorcist, you know, and who was a fantastic human being, an amazing woman. So I called home, and I was speaking to my mom and my sister Mary came on the phone. And after that conversation, I hung the phone up, and there was something that stirred me inside. You know, it was like, and I turned to Linda and I says, Linda, I've just spoke to my wee sister Mary, but I don't really know who she is. You know, because when I left at 18-year-old, my sister Mary was only young, you know.
Yeah.
She was only a young lassie, you know, 9 or something like that, 8 or 9 or whatever. So now, here I am, 8 years later, 7 to 8 years later, and I talked to her and she's a young teenager. And I didn't know really who she was.
Yeah.
And then I started thinking about my brothers and I says to her, and me and Linda had spoken about getting married and all that nonsense. And I says, you know, Linda, I says, I need to go home to Scotland. And she says, like, why? I said, because I don't want to go through life not knowing my family. Mm-hmm. I said, if I end up staying here and marrying you, I'll never know my real family. I'll never know them as people, you know. And that's when I came. I said, it was just off the cuff. And I've done a lot of stuff in life just off the cuff, you know. And I said, I'm going home. So I came home, and I hadn't even put the feelers out there. I hadn't let anybody know, you know. I spoke to Frazee, but maybe going to law saying that. But no, I hadn't even put the feelers out. And then I was obviously in Elgin, and I went down to train with Elgin. And then obviously Pelly wanted to sign me, you know. Yeah.
Was there any hesitation, or was it?
No. You know, it was just the thing I loved about it. My wee brother Michael was there.
Yeah.
You know, so it was to play football with my Michael, and I just, you know, my mum and dad come watch the games, and that was that. And I honestly thought, well, I'm just going to do it for a year anyway. Mm-hmm. I said, let me just do this for a year, and then I'll probably go back to America, you know. And
the rest history, John.
You know, well, you know, we had that season. We had a pretty awesome season. You know what I mean? It's we won the treble. It was, I think it was the first time Elgin had won the league for
a long time,
20 odd years or something. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Just kind of going back to when you're speaking about Michael there. One of the questions I got asked when I'd put that you were coming in to speak to myself was, we obviously know about yourself and we know about Michael's football ability. One of the comments was made about Mark's football ability. It says at a young age, Mark was probably just as talented as yourself and Michael. Why did Mark not pursue a career in football? Is it maybe a question for Mark himself?
I think he's just too clumsy, you know. No, Mark was good. Mark was a good player. He's left-footed as well, you know. But I don't think Mark really had the desire and hunger to be a football.
Yeah,
I know he had that hunger and desire to be a professional footballer. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm.
Would you agree that he was just as good as yourself and Michael at a young age?
I think Mark was decent. I think he was pretty good. I wouldn't say he was. I really wouldn't say he was me and Michael's level.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
I think he was probably close, but I really don't think he had that. And I think that comes down to the fact that you want to really be better. You feel you can be a lot better. I think Mark was just easygoing. Mark's a very easy,
laid back kind of guy.
He's laid back, man. Jesus, he's very laid back. He's very easygoing, you know. And, but I mean, Mark's had a great life. Mark joined the RAF, and I mean, he hardly worked for about 20 years. You know what I mean? You know, and but he's had a great life. I mean, he's married a wonderful woman. He has 2 great kids now, and he's doing great. But he travelled, lived in a lot of different countries, played football for the RAF.
Yeah.
Drunk cheap beer in the sergeant's mess and mess, you know what I mean? It's see a lot of people, it's like, you know, there's a lot of people I know who have had much better lives than professional footballers.
Yes.
You know, just because you're a professional at something, you're a sportsman or something, doesn't mean say you have a better life than everybody else.
No.
You know
Everyone thinks it's a glamour life, and it's not always the case.
Oh, no, it's not. Then a lot of mistakes a lot of professionals make, a lot of boys make, is because they're lost, they're lonely, they're away from home. They meet some young girl in that town that they're in, and it's the worst person in the world they could have met.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But just because they're lonely, they get stuck with them. They next thing they have a family, and it's.
Yeah.
Then I've seen it when I was at pro teams, man. I've seen so many boys who were away from home and got hooked up with some girl, and that local girl, and it wasn't the right person for them, but they just didn't want to be lonely, and it was just a disaster waiting to happen. You know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, all these things happen at once. It doesn't add up to a good result in the end.
No.
Okay, transition from player to manager at Elgin, John. So how did, like, when you I've got 9 years you were at Elgin playing. Is that right enough?
No, I don't think so.
No.
I've
got 84 to 93.
84 to 93. No. I was in America.
That's my notes that are wrong then.
84. Where was I in 84? I think 84 was I was in Austria in 84.
84.
And then came back and played for Blackpool.
Yep.
And a season at Blackpool. That was my best season. That was the most enjoyable season in football I had. Because we finished second in the old 4th division.
Yes.
So we got promoted that season.
That's right. I've got that in my notes here.
We were always in the top 3 all season. So it was just great. And we used to take 3,000-4,000 fans away games and stuff. And
yeah.
That was a fantastic year. And then after that, I went to America. Yeah, that was 84, 85. And I went to America 86, 7. So I think I came back and I signed for Elgin 88, 89. The 88, 89. That's when I came back. I signed for, so I was 88, 89 with Elgin. That season we won it and everything. And then Pelly left. That was a stupid thing. That was typical Elgin City. I mean, that's Elgin City all over the back. They wouldn't give Pelly a pay raise, you know what I mean? It was like, for an extra couple of grand, whatever it was, extra few grand, you know. But that was Elgin, man. That was just the way they were run, man. They were run by idiots.
Yeah.
I mean, complete clowns. You know, just, you just won a treble. The guy, you haven't won the league for 20 odd years, whatever it was. The guy's your manager. He's put a team together. Don't get me wrong, Pelly got lucky. Pelly was good, but he got lucky. I mean, I landed on his doorstep. I mean, the year before that, John McGinley landed on his doorstep. You know what I mean? Then I landed on his doorstep. And it was free. You didn't have no transfer fee or nothing. You know what I mean? But I mean, they should have paid the guy the money, man. But they didn't. They were stupid. They've been stupid for many years.
Just kind of going back to your Blackpool days, I think, Ryan, you've got there was somebody, I think, is it Mick Conroy? It was at Blackpool.
Right, it's the second one you want me to read out first.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's in 2 parts. So I'll read the first one out and then I'll read the second one. So Mick Conroy says, "We had a great social life. Our digs were 30 yards away from the local pub. John was a good striker, but didn't play a lot of games in his favoured position as a striker. Both Eamon O'Keefe and Paul Stewart were hitting for him as we chased promotion, but he was a good character and was well thought of around the club."
Yeah, Binzer's a good man. He's our digs were right across for the pub, and like I say, that's my favourite season in football. Binzer, I love Binzer. I was actually met him in Vegas about 4 years ago at the Celtic convention. Great player, Mick. And Mick's got this voice, you know, and he speaks through his nose, like that, you know. And so I would understand him, but the other players and the referees had no idea what he was saying. I mean, he would be like screaming at the referee, "Yeah, fucking bastard, I'll kill you, I'll get your fucking wife and kids and stuff." But he'd be saying it so fast in that Scottish accent, like, yeah. And the referees, English referees, had no idea what he was saying. And it was hilarious. But we had that. Yeah, there was 4 of us, and then some of the other players would come and stay, you know, when the nights before matches and stuff. So the crack we had in that digs was unbelievable. The physiotherapist at the time, he owned the digs, you know.
Okay.
So like a guest house type thing, you know. Me and Binzer had some special nights. Yeah.
Good memories, John.
Yeah.
Okay. So going back to kind of best played with against, your time in Scotland in the Highland League, who's the best you played with and who's the best you played against?
I mean, the best in the Highland League, I mean, best I played against, I would probably, Gordon Conley was special player.
It's been mentioned a few times on here.
Gordon was a hell of a player, man. He was a great wee player. But Ross County had a lot of good players. That few seasons they had a hell of a squad. But Gordon was a level above them. But I think my brother Michael. You know what I mean? I don't think probably in my time in the Highland League, I don't think there's anybody really been any much better than Michael. You know what I mean? He was. You know, I knew about Michael. Once I started playing with him, I went, God, why's Michael never had a chance to go pro? I couldn't understand it, but Then I realised his weight, you know, he tendency to put a bit of weight on, and I knew that once I got him fit, I knew that I was going to get him to pro level.
Yeah.
I just knew it. Once I get him fit, and me and Graham Tatters, we worked hard on Michael. You know, Tatters used to take him running a lot, and I used to work him a lot, you know, and I was hard on Michael, you know, I was harder on Michael than anybody, but I just knew that it's somewhere somebody's going to give him a shot, you know.
Yeah. His career is proof of that, John.
Yeah.
You know, his career is proof of that.
And then Scotty Murray, I remember I was managing Elgin and we played Fraserburgh, and Scott Murray was only 16, I think, 16 or 17. And we played him at Barrabriggs, and he roasted us. He absolutely roasted us. Mm-hmm. He gave us a do, and it was like, it's unbelievable. So, right after the game, I called Jim Barron. Jim Barron was the assistant manager at Aston Villa at the time, to Ron Atkinson. Jim was my reserve team coach at Wolves.
Okay.
So I'd always stayed in touch with Jim, great guy. And I called him, I says, Jim, I said, I'm just playing a game against this team, and this young 16-year-old boy just took my team to the cleaners. I said, he's a special talent, you know. So at the time, I was trying to raise money, you know, to buy players, and I knew I wasn't going to get it from the committee, you know, so I had to look at all avenues. So in my head, I wanted to give the kid a chance because of his talent. But in my head as well, I was thinking, well, if I do something for Aston Villa, they might do something for me.
Yeah.
So the agreement was that if they signed him, they were going to come up and play in a pre-season friendly against us and then against Fraserburgh, you know?
Right, yeah.
So sure enough, Scotty went down to Villa, scored a hat-trick on his fucking reserve team. They signed him straight away, you know? I think they played Fraserburgh 30 or 40 grand for him, or 50 grand or something.
Wow.
You know? So that was another thing, you know, one of the committee members was like, because I went down to Birmingham, you know, what are you doing? You're wasting the club's expenses and this, you know. Like, they never seen the big picture. They never ever seen the big picture.
Yeah.
You know.
It's about creating these relationships, isn't it?
Oh, there's no doubt. It's amazing, you know. And Villa, we had it agreed. They were going to come up and play in a friendly, you know. They couldn't do it that season, but we were going to come up at some stage and do it, you know. It was like when I went to sign, I heard about Sammy Leon's, right? Mm-hmm. So I heard, Graham Tatters told me, he said, hey, this guy who plays up front, he says he's in the RAF, he's big, tall, unbelievable athlete. And so I said, where's he playing, Graham? He said, he plays down in Devon. He's based down in Devon, you know. Mm-hmm. I said, okay. I said, I'm going to go down and see him. And he said, what? So I'm going to go down and see him. So I got in the car and I drove all the way down to Devon.
Jesus Christ, John.
And he played in this game, right? So they knocked the ball up over the back of the centre half. Now the centre half's got 10 yards on Sammy, going back to his keeper. And the ball's in between the keeper and the centre half. All of a sudden, Sammy just took off and he just flew past this centre back. As it happens, he got the ball, he went round the keeper and he missed the goal, you know. But just that pace.
Yeah.
And then another time, ball came up, you know, and a cross came in, and all of a sudden he leapt like a salmon, you know. He headed this ball. And I went, that was enough for me. I said, oh, this guy will be brilliant in the Highland League, you know.
Yeah.
So I went up to him after the game and said, hey, Sammy. He said, yeah. I said, hey, John Teasdale. I run Elgin City. And he did. He said to me, you came all the way down here to see me? Because I heard he was going to go to Lossy or Forest, you know.
Yeah.
I says, yeah. He said, you sure? I said, yeah. I said, yeah, I heard you're coming to Elgin. I'd like to sign you for Elgin. And I told us, I'll give you £1,500 signing on fee. That was it. We shook hands. That was it. So I come back. I go in the boardroom on the Tuesday night or Thursday night, whatever it was. I said, listen, guys. I went down there and I seen this guy. I've offered him £1,500 signing on fee. And I said, he's going to be unbelievable for us. Elgin City had this vice chairman, Jimmy Henry.
Right.
One of the most horriblest human beings I've ever met in my life. And I've met a few. Negative, Dyer type guy. Millionaire, multi-millionaire, Henry Hydraulics.
Okay.
And he had the big farm, and never, just a miserable human being. And he says, "You've no right to tell anybody what's going, and offer people money and everything." I mean, everything I tried to do, they tried to stop. Everything, And I was like, but there was some good committee members who wanted the best for the club, and they were behind me and stuff like that. And so anyway, we ended up signing Sammy, and the rest was history. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like when I went to sign Soapy Cameron. So I knew I wasn't getting the money for the club. So I went around a few businessmen in Elgin, and I said, "Listen, I want to sign Soapy. It's going to cost me $7,000. I need some money." There were certain businessmen in town that said, "I'll give you 1,000. I'll give you 2,000. I'll give you."
Yep.
So I go back to the committee. I said, "Listen, I've got this 7,000 to sign Soapy Cameron." This guy, Jimmy Henry, says, "Listen, my loon, that's nae your money to decide far it goes. That's Elgin City's money." And I said, "No, Jimmy, that's where you're wrong." I said, "These people who are giving this money, they're only giving it for me to sign Soapy. Mm-hmm. They're not giving it for you to waste." Okay? So I mean, like, this is, I would hate for any manager to go through what I had to go through.
Yeah.
Just to try and sign players. Mm-hmm. But then I can look at it and go, well, no wonder Elgin never won nothing for all these years. No wonder. You know what I mean? That's the mentality that was running the club.
Yeah.
I mean, most of the players I signed, all the players I signed were signed on money that we had made, that I had made the club, that I had got for the club. Mm-hmm. Not that they'd,
No.
I remember Ali Jaffe. You remember Ali Jaffe?
Yes.
So Ali played up front together. That season we won the treble. So then when I became manager, Ali tells me, and then Ali put a wee bit of beef on, and he told me, he said, "John, I got this promotion with my work." He said, "I'm not going to be able to come for training all the time, and certain games I miss." I said, "Okay." So I was like, "Oh." Now, I knew Ali, and if Ali wasn't training all the time, Ali was going to put a lot of beef on, and he wouldn't be doing.
Yeah.
So, and I knew Callie liked Ali. So I said, I better do this quick before the word gets out. Because I knew Ali was losing interest because of his job,
Yep.
So that's when I traded Ali for, I think it was Mikey Noble. And then I think Ali only played about 3 or 4 games for Callie. But I knew that he was, you know what I mean? So I kind of pulled the wool over Callie's eyes a wee bit, because I knew he wasn't going to be playing.
Yeah. These things you've got to do, John.
No, you've got to be, you've got to be on top of it, You've got to.
You've got to be coy about things.
Yeah.
Right. Just get a quick time check, Ryan.
We are at 1 hour 5 minutes, mate.
Okay. Right. Right, here's a controversial one for you, John. Can I get your side of 92, 93?
So, plain and simple. Okay. So, I asked our chairman at the time, not the chairman, the secretary, Ben Strachan. I asked Ben, I said, Ben, this is before we played against Keith, right? I said, is there anybody with bookings close to, suspensions? Because we only had a few games left. Is there anybody got bookings? And he's like, no, everybody's fine. Mm-hmm. Okay, perfect. We played Keith. I got booked. John McDonald got booked. Right? And next thing you know, we're both suspended, right? I went mad at Ben at the time, but here's the thing. We get a letter from the SFA or Highland League, whoever it was, mm-hmm. that tells us about the suspensions. They send us a letter.
Yep.
These 2 players are suspended if the game goes ahead on from Saturday the 23rd, whatever it was.
Yep.
These 2 players are suspended from this date. Okay. So I'm thinking, oh God. Now I had a tight squad at the time as well. Anyway, mm-hmm. So I says to myself, wait a minute, we're suspended if the game's on Saturday. I'd been speaking to Dundee because they wanted to look at Michael.
Right, yeah.
And they're thinking about signing Michael. So I said to myself, wait a minute, so if I arrange a game against Dundee, that'll bring in some funds. You know, will be good to get a player. So if Forrest pulled the game forward to the Friday, play Dundee on the Sunday, this would all work good. And then me and John could play as well, you know?
Yeah.
So we called up the league and we asked the league, could we bring the game forward to the Friday night?
Mm-hmm.
The league says, if it's okay with Forrest, it's okay with us. I called George Cowie at Forrest. I said, George, any chance to pull the game forward to the Friday night? I said, I've arranged a game with Dundee on the Sunday, you know. And so, any chance we can pull it forward the Friday? I said, you'll get a big crowd, a huge crowd. A huge crowd on the Friday night. George Cowie said, I fine, no problem.
Yeah.
Now, to this day, nobody's been able to explain to me how that was wrong.
Yeah.
You know?
Mm-hmm.
So we play the game. We win, obviously, easy. We win the league. We celebrate. We had a good night. That was a good night. It was a really good night. And then they call this. What happened was, a buddy of mine, Mikey Taylor, had been watching the game. And Mikey was stood with Bobby Wilson. And Mikey had said to Bobby Wilson, oh, Teasdale pulled a fast one over their eyes. He says he pulled the game forward to the Friday because it's suspensions on the Saturday. Bobby went in and I'm nothing against Bobby. I like Bobby, you know. Bobby told some Highland League people.
Yep.
They called this emergency meeting on the Monday. Right? Now, all these representatives from these Highland League teams are supposed to go to these meetings, talk about what they talk about. Stuff is supposed to get proposed and seconded, whatever.
Yep.
And then they're supposed to go back to their clubs and in their own committee meetings say, okay, the Highland League's proposing this or this and this. How do we vote as a club?
Yes. Yeah.
And they will say, take a vote. Well, we vote yes, we vote no.
Mm-hmm.
Well, obviously, this is where you know it was all planned. Because that night, it was voted to strip us of the league, seconded, and voted on.
All in one go.
All in one go.
Yep.
Now, I know where it came from.
Mm-hmm.
And it came from Keith, Sandy Stables.
Yep.
Everybody knows it came from Sandy Stables. And I'm not against Keith. You know, Andy Troop runs Keith. I love Andy. Andy's a good lad. I'm not against Keith in it. But this is just the truth of the matter.
Yes.
And I told Sandy Stables to his face. I pulled him up about it. And he tried to deny it to me. I said, Sandy, you can deny it all you want. I know it was you.
Mm-hmm.
You got the guy for Inverness Thistle and the guy for Rothes to do all this. The guy from Rothes, I believe, worked for him, or he worked for that company.
Yeah.
And there was a number of people who voted that night who were let go from their committees because they had no right to do that.
Yes.
They shouldn't have done it. You know? And it all started, we played Keith at Boroughbriggs. Big Sammy challenged their keeper, and he gives their keeper a right clunk. Some of their committee members at Keith, one or two, whatever it was, started saying some nasty things about Sammy. A couple of racial type things, you know, slurs. And my goalkeeping coach, Stevie Marcella, big Stevie's a big lump of a boy. He used to be a bouncer. So Stevie grabbed the boy by the throat, and the big argument going on, whatever. So Stevie told me about it afterwards, and I was pissed off. You know, I was like, "They did what?" And he's told me. I said, "I'll show them." So when we played Keith in that game, a few games before the end of the season, we beat them 6-1. I think it was 5 or 6-1. And I did something I shouldn't have done. I took 2 players off and played the last 10 minutes with 9 men.
Yeah.
Basically, just to say, "See, stuff you."
Yep.
And that's where it came from. Mm-hmm. It was Sandy Stables. So Sandy Stables was the SFA guy from the Highland League.
Okay.
You know. And so when we went to Bell Gardens when we protested, you know, so as the meeting was about to start, I just said, gentlemen, can somebody in here please tell me what rule myself or my club broke?
Mm-hmm.
And there was silence for about 30 seconds. They were looking at each other. I'm looking at them, they were looking at each other. And then the guy stood up and he said, well, no, Mr. Teasdale, you didn't break any rules. You brought the game into disrepute. I said, I brought the game into disrepute. Why? Well, because of the suspension. I said, sir, with all due respect, you guys are the ones that let us know about the suspension.
Mm-hmm.
You told us about the suspension. So how could I have fooled you?
It's so true.
You're the one that sent the letter saying the 2 players are suspended.
Mm-hmm.
So how have I pulled the wool over your eyes? You know, and that's what it is. You know,
there you have it, folks.
yeah. I mean, it's sad. It's sad. You know, it's sad because it kind of ruined my career as a coach or a manager in this country. You know, and I honestly believe that I probably could have ended up going and managing, coaching at a higher level.
Yes.
And it just, you know, for some of the boys that never won a Highland League medal, to get that medal taken back off them was just, that's shocking, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But what's sadder for me is the ongoing, all these years that the Highland League have never had a backbone. There's nobody in the Highland League that's had the backbone to turn around and say, you know what, let's make this thing right.
Yes.
For once and for all, let's make it right. Because everybody has come up to me and said, John, yeah, it was shocking what happened. It's shocking what happened. All these clubs, all these chairmen, all these things said, yeah, it shouldn't have. But none of them have actually stepped forward and said, like, okay, here, let's do this.
Yep.
Let's turn this round. Let's give them the league back. Let's give them their guys their medals. And that would be the right thing to do. And I would never have any respect for the Highland League until they do something like that. You know?
Even, you know, John, we've said it before on here, strip you the 3 points of the game, you still win the league.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, but it wasn't about that.
It's not, no.
It wasn't about that. And it wasn't about taking the league from Elgin City. It was about John Teasdale.
Yes.
I'm
Yeah.
not stupid, I know.
Yeah, witch hunt.
Yeah, it was a witch hunt, which was pathetic, you know. You know, an old roommate of mine, Stuarty Scott, told me when I was living with him there, when I was first season back playing with Elgin. He said something and it stuck with me all these years. He said, John, the scourge of Scotland is committees. And I went, what? He says, the scourge of Scotland is committees. These committees in all these different walks of life, he says, they're a scourge of Scotland. And boy, was he right about that.
Yep.
You know, there's just too many people in these types of committees that just want to be there for a badge. They want to feel importance in that town by being a member of that committee.
Mm-hmm.
You know, instead of being a guy who just does it for the good of his heart and just does it for the good of his club and his community and stuff like that.
Yep.
And I feel, I don't know really now, I don't really know them, but back in them days, these committees, a lot of these committee guys with these clubs, that was their thing in life. They felt special.
Yep.
You
Made
know,
them feel important.
Made them feel important, you know.
Yeah.
Because I've seen all these guys for Elgin for years and years in Elgin committees, and they did nothing for the club.
No.
That guy, Jimmy Henry, was a multi-millionaire. You know, he used to get his farmers guys to come to Boroughbriggs to cut the grass sometimes, and then he would send the bill to Elgin City. You know?
It's madness.
You know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
just, you know,
Absolutely.
and then you had other guys, Alan McGregor there for a wee while, other guys, they would put money in to get players, they would give money to give to players and stuff like that, and, you know, but then you'd have these guys at certain clubs that are multi-millionaires, and they were just there for play for the, you know, just for the name and the prestige, but they really didn't care about the club and stuff.
No.
You know?
Not football people.
Not football people, you know.
No. And you need, and in them positions, for a club to be run right, you need football people in these positions.
Yeah. I mean, I'm seeing what's happening at Elgin now, and it seems like Elgin might finally have somebody in there that has a care and a want about them, and is going to do something for Elgin.
Just kind of bringing in my next question, Ryan. I think it was the one about.
I'll go one at a time because there's three, isn't there?
Yeah, there's three. So we've got questions about the current state of Elgin for you, John. It's just for people asking them.
Okay, so Stephen Ralph asks, would be interested to hear John's thoughts on whether he thinks going into the SPFL was the right option for Elgin City, given they've languished near the bottom of League Two since they've been admitted.
Disaster. complete disaster, and it was a wrong move. I said it at the time. It was a wrong move. You know, just didn't have the professionalism. They've never had the professionalism. You know, they've never had a chairman. Listen, Graham Tatters, I love Graham. I love him, you know. But Graham's not a business type guy that was going to bring in other businesses and an influx of money that you need at that level to, you know. And they've been putting plasters on holes all those 20-odd years. I mean, what is the point? What is the point of playing every year just to stay in the second division?
Yeah. And no ambition.
To me, they're much better coming out of that league and going back in the Highland League and being a top 1, 2, 3 in the league, Highland League every season. You're going to get crowds of 500, 800, 1,000 down at Barra Briggs. Yeah. You know what I mean? To be travelling back and forth up and down that road to play against these teams every year, just to linger in there, it's just been a complete waste of time.
Yeah.
You know, and you see all these other teams that come out of the league into the second division and they go straight through the first division or championship. You've seen it time and time and time again. You know, and it's because they had the right professional, driven people, business acumen amongst them with a vision and a plan. And Elgin's never had that.
No.
That's not Graham's fault, you know. But no, I think I'd rather, because let's be honest, how far can Elgin City go?
Yeah, exactly.
How far can Elgin go?
Yeah,
they're never going to get crowds of 5,000-6,000.
No, never.
Right? They're never really going to get a chance to go really play in the Championship and the Premier League and all that. So what is the point just to be there, to linger in that second division? Maybe get a sniff and get a promotion one time and then come back down. And to me, it's just
it's a farce.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Bit of a farce. What was the other one, Ryan?
So the second one is, if it was the right option, what do they need to do differently to make progress? Well, we just kind of answered that with me, but recent events at Inverness have shown how difficult it is for Highland clubs in the current football climate.
Yeah. Sorry, what's the third one on from that?
Right, so the third one is, not sure if he gets to see any Highland League football these days, but how does he think the standard compares to back in the early 90s?
Yeah, it's
Do you get to see any local football at all, John?
No, I don't really get to see any, you know. But I think all standards at all level of sports has dropped alarmingly, you know. But yeah, I mean, I just think the levels nowadays, and I remember I came back for a little bit with manager Huntley for a few months there, and I was shocked at I was shocked at how the standard.
Yeah,
I really was shocked, and that was 2010. You know, the difference from, you know, when I was managing Elgin, the difference in standard was just, whoa, it's unbelievable. I mean, I couldn't believe guys couldn't control a ball and pass a ball. And so, yeah, I just...
we hear that so often, John. It's the techniques went away from the game, the technical ability, and it's all about how good an athlete you are these days.
Well, here, I'll tell you one of the main differences. When I was 13, I was playing for Birkhead Anchors in the Sunday League against grown men.
Yeah.
They would break your leg in a heartbeat. But I was also playing against some grown men, boys that were good players. They were really good players. They had been Highland League players, or they were good junior players and stuff.
Yeah.
That's what made me the difference. My growth from 13 to 15 was because I played against that type of people.
Yep.
Now, the young boy at 13 today, he only plays against other 13-year-olds.
Exactly.
You know, the 14, he plays 14s, 15 to 15. 10s against 10s, 11s against 11s. And that, to me, it stops the guys who are really good and had potential to be really good, it stops their progress. Because they need to be playing, you need to be playing against better players than yourself to progress.
All day.
You need to learn. You need to be in training sessions, watching, learning how to ride a tackle, learn how to move here, you know. You need to pick up, and you need to, when you're just playing against your own age group and you're a standout against that, that's why a lot of the guys, they're potential, they think this guy's going to be a superstar, but then the second they go in to compete against grown men,
falls
or
apart.
bigger guys than themselves, they can't handle it. They can't compete. And I think that's what's ruining a lot of footballers. I don't believe in this nonsense that they can only play against each other at the same levels and stuff. You know, when you're really good at 14-year-old, you can play against 17, 18-year-olds.
Yeah, I agree.
When you're really good at 12-year-old, you can play against 15, 16-year-olds. And nobody will convince me otherwise. Nobody. And I think that's holding back a lot of the good players. And, you know, they don't eventually make it.
Yep.
You know, because they can't handle that. When it does come to the time to step up, they can't really handle it, you know.
Yeah. That's a great insight, that, John. I'm going to stick with the theme of young footballers. You've got a nephew who's a young footballer making waves just now. Went pretty viral a couple of weeks ago with a fantastic goal against Celtic. Do you want to speak about Joseph, and have you seen like kind of what football ability, what level he's at?
Yeah, I watched him a couple of times. I think he's got a chance. You know,
Yeah.
I think, and I told him the other day, all you can ask for in life is a chance, and you have a chance now. He's going to go and he's going to go to a pro team. He's going to. I think there's no doubt about that. It's guaranteed. Don't know who. You know, I hope it's Aberdeen, because, in my opinion, Aberdeen's a great club for young boys to go to.
I agree.
At some stage, if you keep progressing, you're going to get a chance. You're going to get a chance to play at Aberdeen, and they always have done over the years. So hopefully it will be Aberdeen, and that's all you can ask for. But you know, I'll tell you the difference between Joseph and most other kids. You know, I remember my mom, God bless her, God rest her soul, telling me, "Oh, your nephew Ryan's a great wee player, John. He's like, everybody says Ryan's this, Ryan's that." So I came home on holiday, and I went to watch Ryan, and I watched Ryan for about 5 minutes, and he had a left foot. He was a good left footer, and he was good. He was pretty decent wee player. But after 5 minutes, I'm going up the road. My mum says, "Where you go?" So I've seen enough. And then I said, "Mom," because my mum says, "Oh, they say he's going to be as good as you and Michael." I says, "Mom, Ryan will never be in the same level as me and Michael. Never, ever, ever." She's like, "Why?" I says, "Because he doesn't want it enough.
Right.
He doesn't want it enough. He's not hungry enough. He stands there waiting for the ball to come to him all the time. He shakes his head when somebody makes a mistake. He doesn't chase back. He doesn't, just all the things, you know." And I said, "He'll never be a football player, Mo. You know, he has a chance." But and he came home from school the one day. I'll never forget it. And if he listens to this, he'll laugh. And he came walking through my mum's kitchen. Threw his backpack off in the middle of the kitchen. And I stopped him right there. "So what are you doing?" He said, "I'm going to watch it. We're going to the TV, going to play his video games, you know." I said, "What about your backpack?" He looked at me. I said, "Oh, you want my mum and dad to pick up your backpack? Is that what you want?" "So you want my mum and dad to pick your backpack up?"
Yep.
And my dad was going to pick it back. And I told my mum and dad, I said, "He'll never be a football player because you's allowed." I said, "Would you have allowed me or Mark or Michael to do that?"
Exactly.
No. And then about 2 hours later, I came through, and Ryan had been playing video games for 2 hours. I says, "Ma, there's your reason why he'll never be a football player."
Yeah.
He says, "Why?" I says, "Would we have been in here playing video games, Mum? And look, the weather's half decent outside." I said, "No, we'd be out there kicking a ball."
Yeah.
And wee Joseph, from all the times I came home, every single time he was outside kicking a ball. He'd come over to my mum's house, his granny, and when all the kids would come in the house, he would stay in the garden, he would get a football. And he'd always come in to Michael, to his dad, "Dad, come and play football, come and play football, come and play football, come on." You know? And that's the reason now he's at a level, he's got the chance.
Yes.
You know? Because to be a pro, there's got to be, like, and I tell a lot of guys, I didn't become a professional football player at 18-year-old. I became a professional football player at 8-year-old, 9-year-old, 10-year-old, 11-year-old, 12-year-old. Kicking a ball, playing Heady, playing Kirby.
Yep.
Going down to the park and playing with the older boys. I was always asking to get a game of football. Always, that's the time when you're honing your skill. You're getting better. Your touch is getting better. Your awareness is getting better. You know, your speed's getting better. That's how it is.
That's it.
It's at that levels. It doesn't happen when you go to structured training at 12 or 14-year-old.
No.
It's
never.
long before then. Only very, very few guys really develop from 14 onwards.
Yep.
The majority of guys that end up playing professional football, you pretty much know that when they're 9, 10, 11-year-old. Not when they're 14, 15, 16.
Yep.
A few others are late progressors, but the majority of them, that's when it comes.
Yeah.
You know, and for anybody's watching and listening to this, my chest, I've got asthma, it's brutal. If you're got a wee kid and they have potential, get them outside. Get them outside all the time. Doesn't matter about the weather. Get them outside kicking a ball.
Yeah.
Get them outside heading the ball against the wall. John McCall, when I was at Wolves, John McCall was our centre half. He was 36 years old. It was his last season playing football. We came in after training, and I could hear this ball against the wall in the gym. And I went in the gym and I looked, and there was John McCall kicking the ball against the wall with his left foot. And I was like, "What are you doing, John?" I was 18. He says, "I'm practicing." I said, "Why are you doing your left foot, though?" He said, "I'm trying to get better." He was right-footed.
Yeah.
That was at the end of his career.
Exactly. Yeah.
You know? So, yeah, Joseph has a chance. He has ability. And he has a hunger and desire, and he wants to be a football player. That's a good thing about him. And you just never know. Hopefully.
Yep.
Hopefully. But I told him the other day, if you do go, Joseph, just work your socks off. Work your socks off. Put as much practice in as you can. Go back in the afternoons if they allow you. That's another thing at pro levels. At pro teams now, you know, like when I was playing pro, some afternoons, just half a dozen of us would say, "Hey, we'll come back for crossing shooting this afternoon." But, okay, we'll go get lunch, we'll come back.
Not allowed now.
They're not allowed to do it now.
No, not allowed. Yeah.
It's all structured. It's all, no, this is your training, this is your training.
It's a science these days, isn't it, John?
Yeah. You know.
I can tell you're not a fan of that yourself, mate. There's nothing beats hard work. Nothing beats hard work. Practice, you know.
You know, I've been in changing rooms with players that would walk today's game. They would cruise today's game. And some of these players were smoking cigarettes after the game. Some of these players were doing the pub after lunch, doing the pub after training, eating pie, chips and beans, and you know what I mean? 5-6 pints of beer.
Yep. 9 out of 10 on a Saturday.
Oh, we played Liverpool at Molyneux. Liverpool bus pulled up. Hansen, Dalglish, Souness, they all come off the bus. We was like, you know, I wasn't in the first team at the time, and I was like, oh, look at these guys. Terry McDermott and Ray Kennedy came off the team bus, went straight into the Wolves Players' Lounge, ordered 2 pints of lager, and was watching the racing on the TV. This is no word of a lie. We stood and we were happy because we said, oh, they're no playing today. They're no playing. Magic McDermott, Kennedy's no playing. They had another 2 pints of lager. At 25-3, Ronnie Moran opened the door and he said, "Hey lads." They went out and was like, that's weird. The doors opened at 5-3, changing room. They came running out and there's the 2 of them stripped. And Terry McDermott was man of the match.
Different level.
Oh, different level,
John.
Different level.
Unbelievable. Okay, I'm going to finish off my questions for you. What's your proudest achievement in football?
My proudest achievement in football was winning the league with Elgin City.
Yeah.
The proudest achievement was winning the league that they never gave us. It was, and it always will be.
Yeah.
You know, because they can say, yeah, we didn't get the league. I know, you know, everybody else knows. So in me, that's my proudest moment.
Yeah, quite right.
Yeah.
There's no debate on this podcast that 92, 93.
That was my pride. Putting that team together and winning that league. Because I know where that team came from, and that team came from nothing.
Yeah.
You know, and that team came from, you know, it still had 5 or 6 of the players that won the league 2 seasons earlier. You know what I mean? But the rest of it just wasn't there. And and the club was down and everything. So that my proudest moment was putting that team together. Me and Graham Tatters, and Graham Tatters had a lot to do with it. I mean, he got that team as fit as fiddle. You know, I mean, he got everybody fit, and he was a great character to have around. Graham, I love Graham.
Yep.
And so that was my proudest.
Brilliant, John. You give me your 1 to 11 just as you came into the studio, and I'll just run through it just now, and then we'll pick a couple of names out of John, and then I'll give you the last question. Okay.
Yep.
So you gave me Craig Hinchcliffe, MacArthur, Neefy. Is it Davy Cochran?
Davy Cochran.
Chico, your brother Michael, Ian Wilson, Soapy, Sammy Leonce, Ian Stewart, and yourself, John, and you, Ennis McDonald as your manager.
Yeah, well, like I said, Russell Mackay would have been in there with
Russell.
You know, if Ian, I never really played with Ian in the league. I just really trained with him. So, but that midfield would have either been Russell, Michael, and Soapy, or Russell, Michael, and Ian Wilson. You know.
Yeah, I'm just going to give you a couple of names. Can you just give me maybe a couple of words about each of them? Ian MacArthur.
Ian was like a solid man. Ian was just a machine up and down that right flank. You know what I mean? He was just a great pro. You know, great lad. Great to have in the dressing room. Quiet guy, very very quiet guy. But I mean, he'd run through a brick wall. Ian.
Yeah,
he would run through a brick wall. There's not many people like playing against Ian.
Yeah, I've heard that. I've just had Martin Stewart in, who played for Huntley, and says nightmare to play against.
Oh yeah.
My phone just. Chico.
You know, it's funny because I got rid of Chico because Chico was at the end of his career, really, when I got rid of him. His legs had gone, but everybody was too scared to tell him, you know what I mean? But I knew to win the league. I wasn't going to win the league with Chico in the team just because, you know. But a few years back, Chico was like amazing.
Yeah.
Chico's a hell of a player. Chico probably could have played pro. Mm-hmm. He probably, if he'd given a break at the right time when he was younger, he probably could have played pro, you know.
Yep.
Chico was a good football player, good vision. He could read the game well. I mean, he would tackle anything, you know what I mean? But he was a better player than he was given credit for, that's for sure.
I've heard that from a few people.
Oh, no, Chico was a hell of a player, man. Really a hell of a player.
Ian Wilson.
Ian Wilson was different class.
You said it was someone you really quite looked up to a little bit.
Yeah, see, I was training with Ian when I was like 14-year-old at Elgin City, you know. And when he first signed for Elgin, he was only a young boy, 18 or 19, I think. But what a left peg he had on him, you know. And just it was a joy to watch him, you know. Mm-hmm. And, he would glide past people. Even I knew as a youngster then, I said, oh, he's going to be good. He's going to be a professional, you know. And sure enough, he did, you know. Just a nice boy as well. Nice guy. Nice guy.
Sorry, I keep on to go back to my phone here. Soapy Cameron.
Soapy was, you know, Soapy's a great character to have in the club, you know. But hell of a player. Hell of a player, Soapy. He just got injured. He got one or two, you know, bad injuries, and you know, towards the end of his career and that, you know. But he was solid, man. Soapy was a good player, good on the ball. You know, just, you know, I don't think many people like playing against Soapy either. No, I don't think him and Russell Mackay in the middle of the park, nobody liked playing against them too.
Yep.
You know, and they were good. Soapy was a great character in the dressing room and in the social club. We had a great team in the park. We had a great team in the dressing room, and we had an even better team in the social club. You know, and a lot of Murdy boys, a lot of less boys from Les Murdy. Great characters. John McDonald, Weed. You know Weed, mm-hmm. John McDonald. He was a, you know, John had a great left peg on him, you know. But what a character in the dressing room, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, it was great. And I always knew that, you know, if you've got a great bunch of the, it's like when I came back to Elgin, you know, that year we won the treble, I was the character in the dressing room.
Yeah.
I was the main man. I was the guy that got everybody going, you know, and I knew I needed other people to do that when I was the manager, so
yeah,
I made sure I had characters in the team, you know.
And so it's building the right type of team. It's not always about the level of player; it's about the level of character.
Yeah, you got to have the right balance. You got to have the right balance and the right characters, and hopefully it all gels together, you know.
Mm-hmm. And we'll finish off with Sammy Leonce. Do you think he was your best signing at Elgin, Sammy?
Sammy was, yeah, probably. He was, probably one of the best signings I made at Elgin. He was a great character. Another one, great in the dressing room, the good crack.
So I think it was Russell that possibly says, he says, the quickest guy I've ever seen, but the first touch at a trampoline. He says,
the worst. First touch was brutal. First touch was brutal. You know what I mean? Second touch was brutal sometimes as well. You know what I mean? But once he got on a run, boy. Once he got on a run, man, there was no stopping him. But great character, great spirit, But I would say my best signing probably was either Hinchy or Willie Furphy.
Yeah, we've had a few mentions of Willie on here. Like
Hinchy, I mean, if Hinchy could have kicked a ball, Hinchy would have played at high level. You know what I mean? He couldn't kick a ball.
First team goalkeeping coach at St Johnstone these days.
He couldn't kick a ball. But, I mean, save, reflection, just reflexes, he was phenomenal, And another one, these guys were great characters. They used to come up from Glasgow, the Glasgow accent and everything. And the boys used to stay overnight in Elgin a lot. I used to make sure they stayed in that way, and built up the team spirit and everything. And
that's what you want.
And the crack was fantastic.
Brilliant. Well, thank you for the last hour and a half, John. It's been a wee bit of an adventure. It's been good to dive into your career because we can hear so much about the legend of John Teasdale, but to actually hear it for yourselves, much better. It's I've got some good stories for you today. There's more to come out. So I want to get your brother Michael in. There's no doubt about that. But I think we've discussed it before. Maybe not yourself because you're in America, John. But I'd like to get a few of the guys for 92, 93 in as a collective and discuss that season, break down the whole season, go through it. Things like that. I think that would be a lot of people will be interested in hearing that. Because
they were a lot of good guys, a lot of good lads in that. Most of them are Elgin boys,
Yeah, that was a big
was
part
the thing
of it
as well. That was a big spirit about it. A big, we used to take a huge fan base away from home and stuff. We would take 600, 700, 800 people sometimes games away from home,
Yeah.
And I think a lot of it was because it was just a bunch of local boys and mostly a bunch of local guys,
Everyone knew the team. Yeah.
So yeah, it was good. It was good, and I'm a great believer in fate in life, So the way I look at it, if things hadn't been, I'd never have went back to America, and I wouldn't have my daughter now.
Yes,
I might have other children, but I wouldn't have my daughter. So to me, I wouldn't change anything that's happened in my life.
No.
And I've made some mistakes. Christ, I've made more mistakes than others. I've made a lot of mistakes. But I've had a good life, and I've had some great times in my life and met some great, I arrived in LA with $4 in my pocket. $4 in my pocket. I didn't know a soul. Didn't know a single soul. 6 weeks later, I'm sitting in Rod Stewart's $20 million mansion in Bel Air. I'd become friends with it. Just certain things. I wouldn't have changed any of that.
And you've played for his football team as well, John?
The XLs, played the XLs, yeah. No, that was good times.
Can you give us a rough idea who was in the team with you? You can remember any of them?
There's a lot of guys used to come I remember Andrew originally from Wham. Andrew came, he used to train with us. He was useless though. He couldn't pass that. There's a good mate of mine. He's an actor, Costas Mandalar. But mainly just normal boys, normal British boys that were over there working, I'll tell you a story. We were out one night, we played a game and in Malibu. And after the game, we went to this bar and all the boys, we'd had a few drinks, we're all having a sing-song, Rod's singing, we're all there. And one of the guys says to me, "Oh, Teasy, must have been great when you played professional football." And I was stood there. I said, "Guys, best job in the world by far. There's nothing better than being a professional football player." And Rod turned around and he went, "I tend to disagree with you there, Tease. Being a rock star is not a bad job." I went, "Oh, Jesus, I forgot about that one, Rod, But that was brilliant." He's like, "I tend to disagree with you on that one, Tease."
Fantastic, John. If you enjoyed our episodes, give us a wee review, rating. I've got a sponsor announcement to make, a little exclusive. Nothing to do with it is to do with the podcast, but I'm going to have a glove sponsor for my welfare goalies and my youth goalies coming in the next couple of weeks. I'll make an announcement here and I'll start giving Vortex gloves a wee plug.
We'll record it beforehand and we can just add it in during episodes.
That's what we'll do. I don't know who's coming in next. I think it's Martin McMullen.
Aye, well, this July, is it? It'll be,
Yeah,
that'll be
so this will be like the end of July before this episode's out, John. Middle of July?
Something like
Four
that. July
weeks,
at some
about
point.
4 weeks from now. So, yeah, even though that's not going to make sense to anyone listening to that.
Because they're listening to it.
Because they're listening to that right now.
Yeah.
Forget everything I just said.
No, well, listen, best wishes to you, man. I love to see people doing something different and taking a chance and doing something, you know.
I appreciate that, John.
You know, it's everything about life. You got to take a chance. You know what I mean? And a lot of great stuff started somewhere. You know, in a garage somewhere, or in a bedroom somewhere, or whatever. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, huge companies, huge podcasts, huge sports programs. You know, I remember working for Fox Sports when British football was just coming. You know, in the cable and all that. And I used to go into the Fox studios.
Wow.
And I used to write down, I used to follow the free kicks and fouls and stuff. And I used to do all that and then hand them in. This player did this one, you know. And a couple of guys that were doing it with me kept doing it. And I stopped doing it because I had to go work in the car business on the Saturdays. And they ended up being on national TV and doing sports recording for like a few years. And guy Gary and if you're on Fox Sports, and you know, but I left it because I had to go to work, and that probably could have been me because they were doing the same as me. They moved up, and these are guys that never played pro, but they were on there talking about the game and analysing the game and stuff like that. And I used to sit and watch them. Oh, Gary, when you say that, you know, but that could have been me, but. You know,
everything happens for a reason, John.
Everything happens for a reason, man. Yeah. Everything happens for a reason.
It's a great outlook in life. Okay, I finish off on the same question all the time. If there's a penalty to save your life that needs scored, who takes the penalty?
Penalty kick to save my life. Who takes it? Do
you take a penalty yourself in your career, John?
I took a few, but with me it would either be Russell Mackay was good at taking penalties. It'd be Russell or Kenny Hibbett.
Okay. Fantastic. Okay. We'll finish off there. Thank you for your time, John.
You're welcome, boys. Thank you.
Okay.
Appreciate it.